Imagine, for a second, that you're walking across a vast, dusty desert. You're trudging through sand and rocks, and you are stepping directly over a massive, intricate masterpiece without even a clue that it's right there beneath your feet. Well, that mind-blowing scenario, that was the reality for centuries in southern Peru. People literally walked right over some of the most spectacular art in human history, completely blind to what they were traversing.
And that brings us to this incredibly fascinating paradox. How exactly do you build a masterpiece you can't even see? We're talking about an ancient civilization carving monumental art into the earth more than 1,500 years ago. They had absolutely no flight capabilities, zero. No hot air balloons, no drones, no airplanes. They seemingly had no way to ever view their finished work from above, just to check if they got it right. Yet the precision is just staggering.
Section 1. Art built for the sky, the Nazca Desert geoglyphs.
What's absolutely wild here is the sheer, staggering inventory of what is actually out there. This wasn't some small weekend project, right? The Nazca culture, working out in the arid desert roughly 250 miles south of Lima, Peru, mostly between 500 BCE and 500 CE, created a massive portfolio of geoglyphs. We're talking over 800 straight lines, around 300 geometric shapes, and roughly 70 highly detailed figures etched directly into the desert floor. It's literally a sweeping industrial-scale art exhibition.
Let's look a little closer at those 70 detailed figures. Archaeologists actually refer to them as biomorphs. And the crucial takeaway here is that these are not just random, abstract squiggles. They are highly specific, beautifully detailed figures of animals and plants. Out there on the desert floor, you've got a perfectly proportioned hummingbird, a monkey with this incredible spiraled tail, a giant spider, a condor, a dog, even a tree. The craftsmanship is just undeniable.
And to truly grasp this, we have to talk about the scale. 1,000 feet across. That is how large some of these individual figures are. Just think about that for a second. That is over 3 football fields long for a single drawing. And it doesn't even stop at the animals. Some of those 800 straight lines we mentioned earlier, they run completely unbroken, in perfectly maintained directions for miles and miles across the landscape.
Section 2. Debunking the alien myth. Pop culture versus archaeology.
So, because the scale of these drawings is so immense, and because you really can only appreciate them from high above, human imagination inevitably ran wild. The apparent impossibility of early humans pulling this off gave rise to some pretty crazy speculation, mostly kicking off in the 1960s. Swiss author Erich von Däniken famously claimed they were, quote, built with help from extraterrestrial visitors as landing strips for ancient alien spacecraft. Now, it sounds like a fantastic sci-fi movie pitch, but spoiler alert, E.T. didn't land here. Let's just quickly put this pop culture myth to rest. The simple archaeological fact is that the ground in the Nazca Desert is way too soft and uneven to support any kind of aircraft landing. Mainstream archaeologists dismiss the alien theory entirely. No UFOs were involved, I promise.
Section 3. How they actually formed. The geological canvas.
Now this is the real focus of our explainer today. Exactly how they pulled this off. It's brilliantly simple. I want you to mentally picture the Earth in this region as a giant scratchboard. The top layer is covered with these reddish-brown iron oxide-coated pebbles. But right beneath that is a light, yellowish-gray soil. The Nazca people didn't need lasers or heavy machinery. They literally just squatted down and removed the dark surface rocks by hand. By exposing that lighter soil underneath, they created a bold, high-contrast line. And that's it. An incredibly simple manual technique that yielded totally, devastatingly effective results. But you might be wondering, how do you scale a drawing of a spider to 1,000 feet using only that scratchboard technique? Well, modern researchers have actually recreated the step-by-step surveying process. Step 1. The Nazca placed markers and sighted long straight lines from the ground. Step 2. They walked those paths, manually removing those dark surface rocks we just talked about. And step 3, they verified the proportions mathematically. Using just simple cords and wooden stakes, they could map out the angles and distances perfectly from the ground level. It proves the Nazca possessed immense mathematical ingenuity. They planned and executed these massive designs entirely on foot.
Section 4. The secret of survival. A fragile time capsule.
Okay, so if these lines were basically just shallow scratches in the earth made by nudging some pebbles aside, how in the world did they survive for over a millennium? The answer lies in the region's unique microclimate. The Nazca Desert basically acts as a perfect preservation system. It's one of the driest places on Earth. Because there is almost zero rainfall and extremely low wind erosion, the lines were completely protected from the natural elements. Mother Nature essentially left them alone, acting as an undisturbed time capsule for 1,500 years.
And here is how they finally re-entered the modern world's consciousness. Back in the 1920s and 30s, commercial pilots started flying over the desert and finally spotted these bizarre markings from the air. By the 1940s, serious scientific study kicked into gear. This was championed first by American historian Paul Kozak, and then for decades by German mathematician Maria Reich, who, by the way, dedicated her entire life and her own money to studying and protecting them. Fast forward to 1994, and the lines were finally designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site. But I want you to notice the footprint at the very end of this timeline. These lines are incredibly fragile. In 2014, the site was actually damaged by a Greenpeace publicity event that left visible footprints near the hummingbird figure. A simple footprint can ruin a 1,000-year-old masterpiece. It just highlights how vulnerable this site is to human interference today.
Section 5. Why were they built? The enduring mystery.
So, in this explainer, we firmly solved the how, that brilliant scratchboard technique and the mathematical scaling. But the actual purpose for expending this immense effort? That remains hotly debated. Let's map out the three most credible theories side by side. First up, the astronomical calendar theory, championed by Kozak and Reich. This suggests the lines acted as a massive observatory, aligning with the sun and moon during solstices. Second, we have the water and fertility theory from Johann Reinhard. He points out that many lines aim straight towards sacred mountains, likely requesting rainfall from mountain deities, which, makes total sense. That's a massive concern in a desert. And third, the ceremonial pathways theory argues these were physical walkways used during religious processions, which is backed up by broken pottery offerings found right along the lines themselves. Honestly, it's very possible the true answer is a combination of all three.
We've seen the math, we understand the geology of how they formed, and we've explored the prevailing theories. But I want to wrap up our explainer today with this really powerful, provocative thought. Just think about the sheer cultural dedication it requires to pull this off. Why would an entire civilization spend generations manually removing rocks in the desert, creating art on a scale that can literally only be fully appreciated from the sky, knowing full well they would never be able to see the finished result themselves? It leaves us marveling not just at their engineering, but at the boundless depths of human belief and imagination.